All right, last two problems. I just have a little note on the tangent stuff, but number 10 goes to 4.5, which is finding an equation from a graph. 11 is 4.52, except I don't give you the graph. I just give you the model. So let's do 10 first. So 10, first thing you want to notice is what shape are you working with? Are you working with sine or cosine? So for me, because cosine starts up high and this graph starts up high, this is definitely going to be a cosine curve. So y equals, I'm going to leave this part blank so I can fill in a number here, cosine, and then I'm just going to kind of leave the rest of this just in case anything crazy happens. All right, just looking at the graph, it looks like the x-axis divides it in half. So I'm going to say there's no vertical shift here because it's symmetric about this x-axis. So I'm going to say no vertical shift. But I am going to tell you that the amplitude is 3. The height is 3, and it's positive 3 because this graph is not flipped. If it was flipped, it would start down below. So I'm going to say y equals 3 cosine. All right, that's all I have right now. And the period is the next piece. So nice little diagram shows me that the cycle ends at pi. Now, remember, 2 pi over b is the period. B goes into our equation and we get the period from the graph. So this is really going to be 2 pi over b is equal to pi, and then b is equal to 2. Okay, and then another comment with the horizontal shift. You could rewrite this equation and give it a horizontal shift, but that's a lot of work and we don't need to be doing that. We've talked about how there's a couple of right answers for these graphs. So this is probably the easiest equation to write, so 3 cosine of 2x. But that isn't to say that you couldn't give this a horizontal shift and mess around with this and get something a little bit different. I'm just not going to do that. This is the easiest one to get. No vertical shift, no horizontal shift. Amplitude of 3 and period of pi gives me a b of 2. All right, my last question, number 11, this actually comes from your book, but I did it in reverse. So I give you the voltage model. I say V is equal to 210 sine of 180 pi t, where t is measured in seconds and V is in volts. What's the max and the min voltage of this function? So whenever you're talking about max and min, we're going to look at the amplitude and the vertical shift. So there is no vertical shift here, which is a big win. So because the amplitude is 210, that tells me that the max is going to be 210 and that the min is going to be negative 210, just from the amplitude because there's no vertical shift. So kind of nice. And then how long in seconds does it take to make one complete cycle? So this is asking, what's the period? All right, so here's our b. Our variable is t, so my b is this 180 pi. b is equal to 180 pi. And this is going to look not very nice, but it's not too bad, right? So period is going to be 2 pi over b, or 2 pi over 180 pi. The pi's go away, so 2 over 180 is going to be 1 over 90. So 190th, I guess, seconds. So pretty fast. And there you go. That's your answer.